So if you look at the convenience store, it's something that we spend a lot of time on. It's kind of like a research what they look like, especially here in the East Coast. What our convenience stores look like. The ones in Detroit and the ones here in Montreal are very much alike. So there's a lot of people that literally went out on like those scouting trips and take a lot of pictures. And we realized that they have like literally hundreds of stickers in their windows and everything. It was important for us to reproduce this properly. I think we did a pretty good job. And as well, this whole kind of like parallax technology thing that we use to give the impression of depth, and that there's an interior behind all those stickers and whatnot where there really isn't, and there's other kind of storefronts that use that as well, and it works pretty good.
And
Yeah.
you had some artists to take a PhD in convenience store design, right?
Something like that. Yeah. Drink beer and I don't know what.
I think I have everything.
Excellent, Jensen. I knew I could trust you. You identified the shipment completely unnoticed, and my guys got their hands on Double T. Awesome job. What else you got?
I paid a little B&E visit to O'Malley's apartment. There was a second shipment of weapons, government issue. I don't know how he got his hands on that type of hardware, but the man's got reach.
Great work. Found something else?
I found a stash of illegal drugs. Not much, but enough to get him convicted.
Good. The more dirt we dig up on that asshole, the better our chances to put him away for good. Got anything else?
No, that about covers it. Here's the weapon used in the dealer's murder. Hope you can make good use of it.
You bet, big boy. I've got a feeling O'Malley's guy will become a lot more receptive to interrogation once he knows I can pin this murder on him.
I think O'Malley's plan was to start a controlled gang war between the Derelict Row Ballers and the Motor City Bangers. You might want to check into that.
Really? All right, I'll keep that in mind when I review all the evidence. Well, that's it. You did a great job. Here's the stuff I promised you. We've got more than enough to nail him now, and I want to make a move before that son of a bitch gets wise. But I ain't got no backup, and I doubt he'll go down peacefully. You've already done the bulk of the job. You want to put the finishing touches on yourself?
It'll be my pleasure.
Perfect. My contact tells me O'Malley's gone back to his apartment. Go get him. I'll be waiting for you in the alley near the building once you've taken care of that scumbag.
He looked a bit tired and it made him grumpy. He's asleep now. All that's left to do is go in there and cuff him.
I've always liked your style, Jensen. I know I've said it a couple of times already, but thanks. You've done a really good thing today. It's been a pleasure working with you again. Just like old times, eh? Good luck with, well, whatever it is your cute ass is working on these days.
So this is a pretty funny one. This is the kind of like the electric charging box for electric cars. Obviously, we're in the future, and we said most of the cars are probably going to be electric, and there's the oil is probably going to have peaked down or whatever. What's funny though is that the box itself, its design is pretty good in terms of the mechanical design and its overall look. It's not an object that I dislike, but what's funny is that if you compare it to the actual kind of charging beacons or charging kind of things that are actually that exist today in our world in 2013, I guess.
Almost the same.
They're already so much slicker than this, like they're way smaller, much prettier. And here we have this huge, we probably were missing polygons. I don't know. Probably the tech artist told me there's only 6 polygons left in the game, and I said, well, let's just make a
big
box.
screen.
But yeah.
But that's the thing, like, for the entire game, we never saw ourselves like being a science fiction game. We always said that we're an anticipation game.
Of
Like
the future, yeah.
we're trying to kind of anticipate what the world can look in 20 years from
20,
now.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, and we were always wondering as we were going through this, like, oh, in 2027, when we're there for real, like, how wrong were we back in
Yeah,
the
wrong
day?
or right.
But there are already in 2013, we already know that we were wrong.
We know
about
which ones were wrong. And it makes me think, it's funny, remember we used to say that in 2027, the real 2027, we'll have dinner.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have an evening
Yeah.
where we'll put the game back into the console and look at it and probably have a good laugh,
Yeah.
because most of the things that we thought were way too advanced are probably going to end up being
Dated.
completely dated.
I don't know what you're talking about. We predicted the whole Olympic thing with Oscar Pistorius would happen, and we said exactly when it would happen, and it did. So there you go.
There we go. Little bits of info here.
These limb rides are being organized by the government. They want an excuse to exact martial law and split this country up.
Keep it down, pal. People are on the edge right now, and we don't want any more trouble.
What will you say when you're kidnapped by a bunch of augmented soldiers and put in a concentration camp?
Haven't put much thought into it, okay?
Haven't you heard of REX-84? FEMA is setting up camps right here in Detroit.
Yeah, and Stevie Y is actually a 600-year-old vampire.
This is just the first step in the plan.
I'm good with it because I understand the reality of living in a slave state. You can bet they'll keep trying to shut us down, but I won't stop, followers. I will not stop.
So yeah, here we have the world boundaries. Actually, one of the important thing that we wanted is that to make you feel that the cities or the places you are feel and are bigger than what you actually play. But it turned out that it was pretty much more difficult to come up with satisfying world boundaries than we thought in the first place.
Yes, it was very difficult because at first, like, designing anything from, you always base yourself on experience and what you can learn from either competitors or online and experience from other guys. And since I was coming from mostly a Rainbow Six type of environment, so as a designer, I actually used to design compounds in very close quarter type of environments.
Interior
For me,
kind
City
of
Hub
stuff?
was just a huge challenge. It was very good, very cool for me to actually experience that challenge. But doing the world boundaries for me, I was just like, let's do a dead end and that's it. Not focus.
Because
too
even
much.
the streets in the Rainbow Six are a lot more kind of corridor-like almost.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. In Rainbow Six, you just place an invisible collision and you don't care about that. But of course, in a Deus Ex game, you don't want to do that. At least I try, but I was, not do that. But the thing is, then from the first, I think it was the first play test we did, where we see some feedback while seeing those guys, and we definitely need to see that those Wildberries were not good enough for the production.
It was feeling artificial, and it was constantly reminding the players that they
Exactly.
were into a game and in a small contained map.
Yeah, exactly. So very late, we actually did some meetings trying to define how can we make them more fun to
More
at least to
credible.
look at,
Yeah.
and I actually changed them as windows to the actual background city, which was a very tough thing to do because we already had a lot of constraints on memories with the amount of NPCs, things we could actually move around and stuff.
Welcome to the Detroit Automated Information.
So this is a big sculpture that's in front of the Sarif Industries building. The idea is there's a big analogy to the Icarus myth in the game. I'm not going to get into all the details right now, but the idea is we kind of divided a lot of the motifs from the Icarus myth and gave them to different parts or different parties in the game. And Sarif Corporation kind of represents the ideal for transhumanism, if you want. They want to give power to the people. They want to enhance people, not necessarily at the most expensive cost neither. So we felt that we should represent them with the wing, which is the idea of kind of like, expanding ourselves.
And even in the
whatnot.
title of the Seraph Industries, we came up with the name Seraph because we were looking for an analogy to
Yes.
angels and wings.
Yes.
And so Seraph to us was a shortened form of seraphim. So
Absolutely.
it really, really works. And when the sculpture then reflects that whole wing
Yeah.
mythology as well.
Their
it's-
logo
it's
is
their
actually
logo.
that wing as well, but it was interesting to have this kind of like art installation built in front of their building that's shaped like a wing.